Now I love Ghibli films, they're super cozy, full of whimsy, and yeah, the food never fails to make me hungry. So today I'll be making some cozy family meals from the Totoro Cookbook. Will they be cozy comfort food or rain-soaked disasters? Let's ride cat bus all the way to the kitchen and find out. My Neighbor Totoro, the official cookbook with recipes developed by Futaba Tsukinari, is a cute little cookbook based on the Studio Ghibli classic My Neighbor Totoro. I love Ghibli movies. Spirited Away is my #1 favorite, but Totoro is definitely up there as well. I mean, how can you not love that cat bus? This is a very tiny and compact cookbook. Compared to the usual cookbook I feature on the channel, this is probably like 1/5 of the size of the ones that I usually do. Because of its small nature, it obviously doesn't hold a lot of recipes. There are only 15 recipes on here. There are 2 sets of recipes. There are the recipes that replicate the foods that show up in the movie, and the other set are original recipes that are inspired by some elements from the story. The writing that accompanies the recipes are pretty cozy as well. They talk about the characters and revisit key moments that happen in the movie. There's even a cute little chapter that teaches how to pick, prepare, and cook fresh vegetables just like how Granny does it in her garden. What I love about these Japanese-style cookbooks are the way these recipe steps are structured. Each step is accompanied by step-by-step photos which make them super easy to follow and beginner-friendly. At first glance, the recipes look very simple and approachable because the ingredients lists are very short, but for people in the West like me, the most difficult thing would be sourcing some of these ingredients, and some of the Japanese ingredients I've found a bit hard to find. The food photos all look really tasty and they have a bright, inviting countryside feel. There are also a lot of Totoro images and illustrations scattered throughout the cookbook. The only downside I found though was that the movie stills kind of look low res and grainy, which is a shame because Studio Ghibli movies are known for their beautiful art style, and I feel that the lower quality images don't really do them justice. Okay, enough talking, let's head to the kitchen before those dust bunnies take it all over. I'm gonna be making 3 dishes from the My Totoro cookbook to see if these recipes have that Studio Ghibli magic. Now we're gonna be making some tasty Japanese meals, but if you're looking for tasty Japanese snacks delivered straight to your door, then you're gonna wanna check out these Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co snack boxes. Tokyo Treat is a fun and exclusive monthly snack box packed with Japan's coolest and craziest treats. This month's theme is Summer Matsuri Snack Fest, packed with flavors inspired by Japan's most mouth-watering festival foods. Bite into snacks like these chocolate orange Kit Kats that's a mix of sweet and creamy, or these soy sauce corn puffs glazed with burnt soy and a hint of butter, and these honey fried rice crackers are crunchy and super addictive. Sakura Co is a monthly Japanese artisan snack box that supports local makers across Japan. Each box is carefully curated with traditional and seasonal snacks. This month's theme is Journey to Okinawa, full of snacks that celebrate the warmth, spirit, and flavors of Japan's southern islands. This mango jelly is super soft and juicy, super refreshing and perfect for summer. You can also enjoy some purple sweet potato pie with a relaxing cup of jasmine tea, and check out this sea breeze inspired ceramic bowl. Love the texture of this one. Aside from the snacks, I also love how they come with booklets that tell you more about the origins of the snacks and fun facts about Japanese culture. If you want to come home to a tasty little surprise every month and experience Japan in the comfort of your own home, then check out these Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co snack boxes by using the link in the description or with the code MisoHungrie. It's like having a little piece of Japan right at your doorstep. We start our day with Satsuki and the family as we join them for breakfast, and what better way to start the day than with a comforting serving of breakfast miso soup. To make a comforting bowl of breakfast miso soup, start by placing a liter of room temperature water into a medium pot along with 1 2-inch slice of dashi konbu. Let the dried kelp soak in the water without any heat for 1 hour. After soaking, heat the pot over medium and remove the kelp just before the water begins to completely boil. Next, add about 2 packed cups of shaved dried bonito flakes to the water. Allow the water to return to a boil, then lower the heat and let it simmer for about 3 minutes. After simmering, pour the broth through a fine mesh set over a large bowl to strain out the bonito flakes. Set the strained broth aside. Now the recipe calls for 2 bunches of komatsuna, which is Japanese mustard spinach, but it also suggests suggest mustard greens or spinach as a substitute. Now, I went to the Asian grocery store and I didn't find this labeled as komatsuna, but it was labeled mustard greens. I'm not sure if it's the exact same thing, but it looks like it's pretty close. Slice 2 bunches of these into 2-inch bite-sized pieces. We're also going to be chopping up 1 pouch of aburage, which are deep-fried tofu pouches. Cut it in half lengthwise, then slice it into 1/2-inch wide strips. Then pour the strained broth into a pot and place it over medium-high heat. When it comes to a boil, add the chopped greens and sliced tofu strips. Cook the greens for about 30 seconds to a minute. Finally, add 2.5 teaspoons of white miso paste and stir that until it completely dissolves. Turn off the heat and enjoy your warming, nourishing breakfast miso soup. Now, right after breakfast, Satsuki makes lunches for her father and Mei, and let's join her in the kitchen as we make Satsuki's homemade bento. To prepare sweet green peas, start by taking about a 1/2 cup of dried whole green peas and wash them thoroughly. Place the peas in a bowl and soak them in water for at least 6 to 7 hours or overnight. Once soaked, drain the peas and transfer them to a medium pot. Pour in approximately 1 3/4 cups of water. Bring the peas to a boil over medium heat. Then once boiling, cover the pot with a lid and let the peas simmer until they are soft. This usually takes around 40 minutes according to the cookbook. After cooking, turn off the heat and allow the peas to cool in the pot. Once cool, place the covered pot in the refrigerator and leave it there overnight. The following day, test the peas to check their tenderness. If they are still firm in the center, simmer them again until they're soft throughout. Mine was pretty tough still, so I boiled them a bit more. When ready, place the pot over medium heat and add 120 grams of granulated sugar, which is about a 1/2 cup plus 4 teaspoons. Stir the sugar in 2 stages, allowing the first half to dissolve completely before adding the second batch. Finally, sprinkle in 2 inches of kosher salt and continue to cook, stirring occasionally until the liquid is evaporated and the peas are shiny and sweet, which should take about 15 to 20 minutes. I think it should be pretty soft and glistening like in the cookbook photo, but mine kind of caramelized because of all of that sugar, which I don't think is the intended outcome. I don't think there's any way to fix this. Maybe I put too much sugar, maybe I had the heat on too high. Did I not soak the peas long enough? Did I not cook them long enough? I don't think there's any way to fix this now, so it is what it is. Hope it's at least edible. Moving on to the next component of our bento, the sweet pink fish flakes. The fish this recipe calls for is either sea bream, red snapper, or sea bass. I'm using snapper here, and we'll need 2 small fillets, about 200 grams in total. Place the fillets into a medium pot with water. Bring the water to a boil over medium-high heat, and once boiling, add 1 pinch of kosher salt and 1 dash of sake to the pot. Let the water return to a boil and continue cooking until the fish turns completely opaque white and is cooked through, which should take just a few minutes. When the fish is fully cooked, remove the fillets from the pot and transfer them to a plate or tray to cool. Using your hands, carefully break apart the fillets into fine, fluffy flakes, discarding any bones and skin during the process. In a small cup, combine a drop of red food coloring with 1/2 teaspoon of water to make the coloring mixture. Next, place the fish flakes back into a pan, add a tablespoon of granulated sugar, 1 tablespoon of mirin, a tablespoon of sake, and 2 pinches of kosher salt. Set the pan over medium heat and continuously stir the mixture using a wooden spatula. Saute the fish flakes until the moisture completely cooks off. This should take about 5 minutes. Then add in the food coloring to give it that pretty pink color. Remove from the heat and set aside for now. Now for the fish, the bento calls for mezashi, which are these Japanese dried sardines, but it also says we can use dried round herring. I couldn't find any mezashi, but I did find some dried herring that I think looks the part. The fish can either be cooked on a grill or a frying pan. I'll be going the pan route. The book says to line the pan with non-stick aluminum foil. Never lined a pan with foil before, and I don't really know the purpose of this, but anyway, add the dried fish and cook it over medium heat, 1 to 2 minutes per side. That's our fish. Hopefully I cooked this right. The last component of the bento is this clay pot steamed rice, but since I don't have a clay pot, I'll just be using my old reliable rice cooker instead. Use short grain white rice as the base of your bento. Top with 1 or 2 pieces of your grilled dried sardines or herring, some of the sweet green peas, the sweet pink fish flakes. The cookbook also shows 1 Japanese plum for each box, so I'll be using this honey plum from the Sakurako box to top off our Totoro-inspired homemade bento. The last dish we're gonna make is a special delivery from Kanta, the neighbor who delivers a wooden basket to Granny. What's in the basket? Why, it's Granny's red bean ohagi. To prepare Granny's red bean ohagi, begin by taking about 1¼ cups of dried red Satsuki beans and soaking them overnight in plenty of water. Once soaked, drain the beans and place them in a medium saucepan along with 1 liter or roughly 4¼ cups of water. Set the pan over high heat and bring it to a boil. Once boiling, reduce the heat to medium and simmer the beans for about 30 minutes until they become soft. After cooking, turn off the heat and let the beans rest in the cooking liquid for 3 to 4 hours to fully absorb the moisture. Once rested, the beans should be tender, so now we add 10 tablespoons of granulated sugar to the saucepan and turn the heat to medium. Stir gently and continue cooking for another 20 minutes, skimming off any foam that rises. Next, add another 10 tablespoons of sugar to the beans and stir well. Continue cooking for another 15 minutes until the mixture thickens slightly. Stir in 2 small pinches of kosher salt before removing the pan from the heat. Let the sweetened beans cool to room temperature, then cover the saucepan and place it in the refrigerator overnight. The next day, place the saucepan with the beans back on the stove over medium-high heat. Add another 5 tablespoons and cook, stirring occasionally until most of the moisture is evaporated and the beans are thick. Remove the pan from the heat and mash the beans to your desired texture. When I tried mashing mine, the beans were still pretty dang hard and really tough to mush, so I cooked it a little bit more. Some of the beans were just too stubborn to crush. Mad respect to Granny's arms for being able to turn these into paste. Meanwhile, wash and drain 2 cups of glutinous sticky rice. Place the rice inside a rice cooker and fill it with 2½ cups of water. Let the rice soak for 1 hour, then cook it according to your rice cooker's instructions. When the rice is cooked, transfer it to a mortar or a large bowl and mash it lightly with a pestle or spatula, or in my case, a wooden rolling pin, until about half of the grains are broken down, leaving some texture. This one is another arm workout. To assemble, divide the rice into 30-gram portions and shape each piece into a ball using plastic wrap. For red bean ohagi, use about 60 grams of the red bean paste per portion. I didn't worry about the grams too much. I was just eyeballing this based on the photos that I'm looking at on the cookbook. Flatten the paste between 2 pieces of plastic wrap and place a ball of rice in the center. Wrap the red bean paste around the rice and press to seal, then remove the plastic wrap. The other version that you can make is the kinako ohagi, which is pretty much the same thing, but with a rice part outside and the red bean part inside. This can get pretty sticky and messy, but I'm trying my best, y'all. Add a 30-gram portion of red bean paste to the center, wrap it with the rice, unwrap it, and roll it in a 1/4 cup of kinako flour, which is roasted soybean flour, for a nutty coating. Here it is, 2 different versions of Granny's red bean ohagi. Let's join the Kusakabe family at the table and let's eat. Of course, we gotta start off with breakfast, and this breakfast miso is actually really pleasant. I didn't have high expectations for this since I've had miso soup so many times before, and I thought this was gonna be pretty much more of the same, but it actually hits pretty different. The mustard green gives it a freshness that contrasts the saltiness really well, and it's not overly salty. The mustard greens give it a freshness that contrasts the saltiness really well, and it even has like a subtle crunch to it, which is different because a lot of the other miso soups I've had in the past use seaweed and those get soggy and not crunchy. And this soup isn't overly salty either. I think the amount of miso was perfect, and the konbu and the bonito gives it a subtle hint of fishy funk that I like. The sliced tofu absorbs the broth really well. All in all, really refreshing, and I'd be happy to have this every day for breakfast. Let's move on to lunch with a homemade bento. I kind of have a bad feeling about this. I'm not confident I cooked all of these elements right. I definitely think I messed this one up. The peas are still hard, and I think it's too sweet. The cookbook photo looks nice and fluffy, but this one is just the opposite. I felt like I followed the instructions well, but I think this needs a lot more time soaking or cooking. The dried herring isn't even edible. Not gonna blame this on the cookbook though, because I think I got the wrong dried fish. Maybe the Japanese grilled sardines have a different texture and consistency, but the dried herring I got were just way too tough. I don't even know if these were meant to be pan fried. But you know what? The sweet pink fish flakes are pretty good. I was kind of apprehensive about this since I don't know how I'd like cooked fish with this amount of sugar combined with it, but this really is working for me. Love the sweetness and the texture, and it just looks so cool with that pink color. The texture is kind of reminiscent of pork floss for me, which I really like. Also, I've never had Japanese plum with rice, but I've always wanted to try it since I often see it done in Japanese media, and now I get the hype. Love how sour and juicy it is with the rice. I definitely gotta grab some more of these. And finally, we try the ohagi. Starting with the one with the red bean outside. Not bad. I like the sweetness and the texture. kind of unproportionate because I had a really hard time rolling and assembling the 2 layers together. The red bean isn't as mushy as it needed to be, but I don't know, I kind of like those unmushed red beans. They're kind of like the crunchy parts in crunchy peanut butter. And the funny thing is, when I was filming this, I liked the Kinako version much less because I originally didn't like the consistency of the rice being on the outside since it was more sticky and harder to grab, but this one actually grew on me the following few days when I decided to knife and fork it. At the end, I think I like this one even better, and I really like the dusting of the Kinako powder to give it some nuttiness. So is the My Neighbor Totoro cookbook any good? It's a short and sweet cookbook with charm that matches the movie. I had a bit of difficulty following the recipe steps though. To me, they were more complicated than they initially looked, but if you're a big Totoro or Ghibli fan or just a fan of cute Japanese recipes, then this might be for you.